The Milwaukee Brewers, man. A bigger video on that team and franchise as a whole will come later on, going over how much of an asshole they made me look this year by continuing to prove the world wrong, not just me. But there's someone in specific I'd like to hone in on right now, someone who's at the centerpiece of the Brewers' success this year, especially in a year where it's been needed most, with Christian Yelich now out for the season. But forget just in Milwaukee, this man has been one of the most valuable players in all of baseball this year, someone who's also been criminally underrated, and that's their shortstop, Willy Adames. Willy's career began with the Rays back in 2018 and then 2019, where he played almost every game, and remember that because it's important later. He wasn't some special offensive bat. In fact, he was actually below average offensively, but he was close enough to average to be playable while having an elite glove at shortstop. And during that year's postseason run, Adames turned his hitting up a notch against the Astros, being a big part of why that series had to go 5 games, getting a combined 4 hits in games 3 and 4, 2 of which were home runs, including one off Justin Verlander. The Rays lost the series, but then comes 2020, and that's when Willy Adames really started showing off not just how talented he could be, but how exciting he was as an overall player and personality. He was a solid hitter that year in the 54 games he played out of the 60 for the season, helping the Rays win the division, beat the Yankees, beat the Astros, and falling short of a World Series title. And although Adames didn't do much offensively that postseason, it was still a fun time for him and the rest of the team. And it seemed like Willy was the Rays shortstop for the future. Like they had something good here on their hands, along with guys like Randy Arozarena, Yandy Diaz, etc. But silly me, a human being playing a long time for the Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays, especially a player with good potential? That's never happening. Okay, no, but to be fair, Willy's seemingly early split from the Rays ended up being for the best for both parties involved. He started off 2021 really poorly offensively, like worse than he'd ever been. In his first 41 games of the season, Willy's batting average was under 200. Everything else was down. He showed little to no power. It just was not good. Something was clearly off, so the Rays decided to strike a deal with the Brewers to send Willy to Milwaukee for 2 pitchers. And what followed was incredible. Willy went from a dead bat at the plate to exploding. And his next 99 games in 2021 to end the regular season with his new team, he hit .285, his on-base percentage shot up, and he quadrupled his Rays home run count. He hit just 5 in his first 41 games with them, and after getting traded to the Brewers, went on to hit 20 in less than 100 games with them. So it looks like a change of scenery worked for Adames, and yes, it did. Literally, Willy's struggles with the Rays that year had nothing to do with anything mental. So what was it? The literal scenery when he was at the plate. Apparently, Willy had a hard time hitting with the Tropicana Field batter's eye, and before you call that an excuse, sure, maybe it is, but it's a legit one. According to Willy himself, after the stadium changed lights in 2019, it was tough for him to see the ball there. Everyone thought it was mental, but it wasn't. He was just guessing all the time at the Trop because he couldn't pick up the ball when at the plate. It was so bad that Willy even had a nickname for it, Permanent Road Willy. And again, if you want to call it an excuse, I'd say it's more so a valid claim with more than enough evidence to back up. In 2018, Willy actually had better numbers at Tropicana Field in the 51 games he played there compared to the 34 he played on the road. And it's consistent with his story because in 2019, the year the stadium changed their lights situation, Adames' numbers became insanely bad at home. In 75 games played there that year, he hit about 200 and everything else was beyond below league average offensively. He was horrible. On the road, over 100 points higher for his batting average. He hit over 300 on the road in 2019 with an OPS over 977 games away from Tampa. That's MVP level stuff for context. The difference couldn't be more clear just by looking at that, but just for the sake of it, let's go to 2020. Well, an even bigger difference from home stats versus road stats. In 24 home games in 2020, Adames hit 165 with a 511 OPS. That's numbers a AA player would maybe put up if he was feeling really good. On the road, a 330 batting average with an OPS more than double what it was at home, well over 1,000 and 30 games away from Tampa. He hit just 1 home run at home, 7 away from it. So again, do you want to accuse him of making excuses? Sure, go ahead, but this may be one of the only instances where an excuse is insanely warranted. He was not making it up at all, we know that. It was clear as day. He was just not seeing the ball at the Trop. He was just a completely different person compared to on the road. And well, what do you know?
Wow! What do you know?
The moment he becomes a Brewer, he goes off. So it benefited him in that way, and it benefited the Rays too, as they wouldn't have to deal with his struggles at home, while also having other young guys coming up in the wings to play shortstop, with top prospect Wander Franco soon making his entrance into the big leagues. Wander Franco.
Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time. A long time.
Unfortunately, Franco never truly left the minors, and the Rays have had a little bit of a debacle with that situation in the position of shortstop since. But as for Adames, he's gone on to be a solid everyday shortstop for the Milwaukee Brewers. His offense was down a little bit in 2023 after a good 2022, but he still helped the Brewers win another division crown, and it is about to do the same thing in 2024, but in a much bigger way. The Brewers haven't been known for their hitting, and it's been this way for a few years now. Not that they don't have talented hitters, they do, but it doesn't necessarily jump out to you like the Dodgers offense would, for example. The pitching continues to play a big part in why the Brewers continue to win, but again, that doesn't mean the offense hasn't been productive. It has. And a big part of that, at least earlier on, was the resurgence of Christian Yelich seemingly getting back to his MVP form. Now, it's kind of unfair in a way because Yelich has been a good hitter pretty much his whole time in Milwaukee, but his first 2 years there, 2018 and 2019, were so abnormally great that it really hurt the way we look at his seasons that followed. Even though he was a good above average hitter, especially last year, people were still kind of expecting the whole MVP level type, so it was kind of disappointing. But in 2024, we were actually getting that again. Through about the first half of the season, Yelich was putting up great numbers. He didn't have crazy power. Everything else was like his MVP days. His batting average was way up, more than it had been in 5 years, and so was his on-base percentage, becoming an on-base machine again. Unfortunately, he was placed on the injured list in July because of a back issue that just never got better. Yelich initially didn't want to get surgery, wanting to try and put it off until after the season and find a way to come back healthy enough, but not too long after that. I guess it just got way too bad for that to be an option. Surgery had to be done now, and that of course means his 2024 was over. That sucks, obviously, and still does. You want Yelich to be out there, but he can't be now. But that doesn't stop Willy Adames from being the most valuable piece of this offense, and probably the overall team, or at least from the position players. Now being needed more than ever, Adames is having the best offensive season of his entire career with the best batting average since 2021, is on pace to break his career single-season home run total, double total, RBI total, walk total. He's also stealing more bases than he ever has. And remember when I said to remember Adames playing almost every game for the Rays in 2019 and how important that was? Well, this season, at least at the time of me recording this video, he's played every single game for the Brewers this year. Every single one. So beyond putting up good numbers offensively and defensively, he's also out there every damn day ready to go. He's the most powerful Brewers shortstop ever, becoming the first ever in their franchise to have 2 seasons of at least 25 home runs, and most above all, not nearly enough people are talking about him. Now, I get it, the Brewers aren't the loudest team, if that makes sense. You're not beating the hype of guys like anyone on the Dodgers or the Phillies or whatever, but it's still criminal how little anyone is noticing what Willy Adames has been doing. He's been so important to the team and their success for years now, but especially this year. He's only 28 years old, and something that's really good for Willy, he becomes a free agent after this season, meaning he's got a chance to get the bag, and there's a damn good chance he will. I can see him getting something in the 100s, like 5 or 7 years, for $125 or $150 million. And the Dodgers are a team that's long been expected to eventually sign him in the free agency, considering they can use a shortstop. Not that Miggy Rojas has been bad. He hasn't at all. He's a wizard defensively and has been hitting more than he has in his whole career this year, actually. But if the Dodgers have a chance to replace him with a younger, more talented shortstop like Willy, they'll do it. I hope he stays in Milwaukee, although it's not the most realistic scenario. But still, whether it's the Brewers or the Dodgers who sign Willy or some other team, he'll deserve the contract that he gets. This man has become the most underrated player in baseball, and it's time to start acknowledging him. Let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.